Hello and welcome to the last ever week of Greater Than. We've finally made it. We've got to the very end. And firstly, I must just apologize that it's me again. I really had intended to be the sort of silent hand behind all of this series, and now you're ending up with me 3 weeks on the trot. Although in real life, the last time you saw me was actually 2 months ago, maybe even longer. I had to have a quick refresher and see what it is that I told you in that last session. And this one, we'll do our best to make sure that they flow. But I do just want to start by saying thank you so much for giving yourself to this material. I'm now in the position of having been able to listen to how Greater Than's been going, watch the sermons getting preached, listen to feedback out of groups. And it's gone so well because you guys have engaged so much. And so thank you for being open to some new ideas, and thank you for being vulnerable and bringing your very best thinking. I trust that this last evening, as you chat, is the best, most profound, most wonderful conversation out of them all. Firstly, I want to finish this idea of boundaries. We set it up last week saying it is okay to set limits, that actually Jesus did this, but God is someone who is comfortable to somehow say, I love you, and no at the same time. And Paul showed us that God doesn't change his mind. When he says no, he means it. When he says yes, he means it. That is so relieving to know that when God promises something, he's not going to change his mind. And yet we are the ones who are double-minded, aren't we? We say no when we mean yes. We say yes, well, we say no when we wish we could say yes, but we run out of time. We say yes when in fact we meant no, but we're afraid to offend people and so on. And there is this new mysterious skill that we want to learn, which is that I can simultaneously protect connection with you and limit intimacy, that the two are somehow possible. So to use forgiveness language, I can forgive you 100% and reconnect with you, and yet still give you opportunities to earn trust again. Or to use parenting language, I can love and connect 100% with my child, and yet I can, without calling into question the quantity or quality of my love for them, still say, no, you can't drive the car. Or in church language, to say every single person in the church family is as valuable, as loved, as connected to the body, and yet some don't get the right to stand up and preach yet because you've only just got saved and don't even know what all this is about. Or the last time we overheard you speaking about Jesus, you were calling him or her, and like you just haven't quite got all the facts in line yet. It would be irresponsible for the rest of us, out of fear to offend you, for us to end up putting you on the stage or saying, yes, please sing in the worship band, even though clearly you're not gifted with an ear. And so this is the kind of thing where we say we can absolutely love, absolutely connect, and yet somehow still say no. And as far as it depends on us, keep loving you and keep working towards connection. This is a mysterious skill. For me, this is kind of fairly new territory. Because so often it seems like for me to prove that I love you, I have to give you what you want every time, as opposed to being able to say, if I love you, I want to know and be known. So I want to understand what you need. I want to ask you a bunch of great questions. I want to let you know what's going on inside me. But at some point, I am free to say, look, I'm just not going to meet that need. I don't have to say, I can't, I wish I could, I want to, but so-and-so is calling me, my mom's on the line, I'm washing my hair that day. I don't have to say any of those things. I can just say, no, you're not going to get that from me. I'm sorry. But I do love you. Freaky, hey? Sounds quite unusual. And yet, the big thing we learned last week is that you protect the things that you value. And there are these big yeses in my life, things that I desperately want to get to. And if I fill the jar of my life with all the little yeses that seem really urgent but maybe aren't that important, it's almost like there's no space left when it suddenly gets to that book that I wanted to write, or that child that I wanted to raise and have a connection with when they were 21, or that relationship with God that I wanted to take to the next level. Those big stones that needed to go into the jar suddenly can't fit because I've said yes to all these little grains of sand that seemed urgent in the moment but not important. So if we've bought into this idea that no can still be loving, that boundaries are something that even Jesus set, that it is not evil of me to put limits and decide how much access and how much intimacy we have, then how do I actually go about enforcing those boundaries? So it's great, I've set them up. I've told you, hey, look, that's the last time you're getting away with that, because now I've done this course called Greater Than. I've discovered that my no is greater than your need. I can say no and survive. Your need can be met elsewhere. You're a powerful person. Great, so I'm going to set some boundaries. Most people will glaze over and go, sounds lovely. And tomorrow, they'll ask you the same thing they asked you for yesterday. What do you do then? Can I blame this person for wanting to consume the valuable things of my life? No, they're free to ask. It's a free world. Anyone can ask for anything. It's now up to me to somehow say no. So I am one of the lucky few who view the world from behind the steering wheel of a Land Rover Defender. And slightly behind the steering wheel, mostly kind of out the window because there's not really space for you in the vehicle. Anyway, that's a different thing. But this great big vehicle of mine, as ridiculous as it is, does have some value to my mates when they're moving house. Paul, your car can tow a trailer and it's got lots of space inside and a roof rack on top that exactly fits the dimensions of a double bed. Don't you want to help me? And the thought that goes through my mind is, thank you so much for asking. Actually, I don't, not even a little bit. But what happens if I've now decided I want to put some boundaries in place? I don't really feel like moving house with you on Saturday. What do I do? What do I say to you? I suppose there's a couple of ways I could go about this. One, I could just say no. But what if you're in that sort of gray area of friendship where I do want to help you somehow, I just don't want to help you on Saturday? Then I suppose I could say, yeah, look, you can use the car. I'm not free on Saturday. You can use it. But look, please drive it carefully. And please remember, third gear is a bit sticky. You have to declutch and neutral first. And please remember that the steering arc is not great. It turns like a super tanker. And so don't clip things on the far side. And please this, and make sure you drive the speed limit. I could give you a whole bunch of instructions about what you should do. Or the third option is I get to say, yes, I would love to help you. I'm not going to help you on Saturday. I am free on Wednesday during business hours, though, because I'm a pastor and work at weird times of the day. So I could help you then. Alternatively, if it has to happen on Saturday, then you only get to use the car when the driver you've chosen has had a test drive with me and I've decided that they are a quality enough driver. You see the subtle difference between the two? They're both yeses with conditions. The one set are conditions where I put them on you. Look, please be like this, please be like that. Please drive in this way, please think about these things. And it's like a very weak version of trying to control you, which remember we've discovered we can't do. The other way of saying yes with conditions is when I don't tell you what I want you to do, I tell you what I'm going to do. I will let you use my car on Wednesday when I'm free to drive it. No, sorry, I can't wait till Wednesday. I've got to move this week. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. It might have been a good idea to ask a little earlier than Friday, hey? Yeah, I suppose so, but I'm desperate. I really need to move. Okay, great. So you have to move on Saturday. Yes. And my vehicle is the only one you know of that can help you. Yes. Wow, this is a really tough situation you've got yourself into, isn't it? Yeah, well, I came to you. I'm hoping you'll help me. Cool. Well, my car can only be driven by certain people, people that I've decided have earned the right to drive it. So between now and tomorrow, I have an hour here and an hour there where you can send potential drivers to me and we'll go for a little drive in my car. If I'm happy that they can, that they're good enough, then they can drive the car. Oh, wow, thank you, you're amazing. What I've done there is I've said, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to let my car be driven by certain people at certain times. And I'm not evil for having those conditions in place. You've now come with a need that doesn't overlap perfectly with my resources, the resources I'm prepared to give, that is. And so instead of me telling you a whole bunch of things that you need to do and begging and pleading, and then when you drop the ball because you will, because it's not really important to you, it's only important to me, we don't end up with this awkwardness where now I'm bitter, I'm resentful. Next time you ask, it's a no out of nowhere. There's no kind of mounting score of things that you've done wrong that need to be dealt with the next time we boil over. No, I just get to tell you what I'm going to do. This is such an important thing because people believe your actions much more than they believe your words. You may say, no, I'm not going to let myself be taken for granted again. But the next time someone does start taking you for granted, what are you actually going to do in that conversation? Hey, sorry, I'm not going to continue this conversation until I feel like you value me. And at the moment, I just feel like a means to an end for you. Can I actually be brave enough? Am I actually free enough because God loves me so much that I can put up with what happens to my reputation between other human beings and myself? Am I brave enough to actually follow through on the boundaries I've decided to set? And if I'm not, if I've chosen that whatever you can do to me is so scary that it's worth me not setting the boundary, then let me not blame anyone else. It's not the consumer's fault for asking the question. It's mine for saying yes. And then figure out what it is that you thought was so valuable that you weren't prepared to risk, which forced you to end up saying yes when you didn't want to. And let that be enough for you. Okay, well, because I'm so scared of this person, I ended up saying yes. Well, then deal with the consequences. And when you've laid it all out like that and the logic of it still doesn't add up, this person's just not that scary. They're not worth ruining my whole afternoon or my whole month with pain because I said this yes I didn't mean. Perhaps that will give you the courage to say no and mean it and follow through with it the next time. As we sort of round this out, let's just try and recap what a powerful person is. Remember, God has given you a spirit of love, not of fear, but of love. He's given you a spirit of self-discipline or self-control, not other control, not I can't be controlled by other people or I'm going to control other people, but self-control and power, not powerlessness, where you get to live your life on purpose. So essentially then, a powerful person is someone who says what they mean, they do what they intend, they protect what they value, they give what they purposed in their hearts to give, they love those they promise to love, freely, not under compulsion, because they have this understanding that God who is in me, who gave me this other spirit, is so much greater than the spirit that's in the world that wants to make me fearful and manipulative or get myself into situations where I'm being manipulated. That's what we want to be. And so as this whole thing concludes and you're about to have a conversation, of course I want you to chat more about boundaries. They're a pretty incendiary idea, that I can love you and still say no, that I can forgive you and still give you an opportunity to earn trust again. Great, chat about that. But I'd also love you to reflect on the course of this greater than journey and think, how is it that my levels of personal power have changed? How is it that my responsibility has changed? Because essentially that's what we're talking about, that you are a responsible person. That when you blame or control or manipulate or all those other things, you're becoming irresponsible. You're outsourcing your satisfaction levels to other people. How have I become more responsible? How have I learned how to take control of my choices more? How have I become more of a powerful person? And what does the journey forwards look like for me? Where are the specific areas, the specific relationships where I'm struggling to get brave? And where are the safe relationships where things are going so well? And I can get courage out of those relationships and say a few safe no's there and put a few boundaries in place and see that this relationship can survive it. Where are the safe relationships that I can practice this kind of stuff more so that I can end up being brave in the other relationships? And overarching all of this, God is love. He loves you like crazy. He loves you to death. He loves you so much that you can be brave enough to love other people and love them well. Love them honestly. Don't love them in fake ways in front of their eyes when they scare you, but love them genuinely by doing what you plan to do, by taking responsibility for your half of the relationship. When there's conflict, when there's chaos, you can choose to build connection with them. And when there's chaos coming from their side and they aren't able to take responsibility for the levels of access and intimacy you've given them, you can set some limits and still be kind. You can set some boundaries and still be gentle. That's what's possible because of this amazing love I'm getting from God. I can live in really loving, free, healthy, sustainable relationships with the people around me. And that's what I'd love us to finish with. What's the vision? What are we hoping for? Where are the relationships that we want to take them to the next level? What's required there? Enjoy the conversation. Enjoy looking back on this, however many weeks it's been. I trust it's been really, really beneficial for you. We've loved preparing this stuff. And any feedback, any response that you'd like to give us and what we might tweak next time around or how you might want to use this material elsewhere and maybe package it differently, please be chatting to us. We'd love to make this stuff as useful and available as possible. God bless you all.